Good evening, everyone. Tonight, major breaking news in two important global dramas. Japan uses helicopters and water cannons in a desperate effort to cool dangerous nuclear fuel. And tonight, there is word a new power line has finally been brought to the Fukushima Daiichi complex. But as Friday dawns in Asia, no sign of a major breakthrough and growing worries about two of the 6 reactors still in distress. But first, just moments ago, a major but perhaps belated international commitment to stop Muammar Gaddafi's brutal march against opposition forces in Libya. The United Nations Security Council voted to authorize not only a no-fly zone over Libya, but also all necessary measures, including military force to stop the Libyan government and its mercenaries from slaughtering civilians. I'm told tonight the Pentagon and its NATO partners have contingencies that include airstrikes and cruise missile attacks designed to cripple Libyan air defenses and punish military units leading Gaddafi's push on opposition strongholds in the east. Now that the UN has authorized force, these strikes could be carried out, emphasis on could be carried out within hours, if the president and his partners around the world issue the orders. CNN's Richard Roth tracked the dramatic vote at the United Nations tonight. Richard?
U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Susan Rice, said the people of Libya should be the ones to decide the future of Libya. But now the international community, after this resolution, is going to try to give them a little military backing, possibly. The resolution passed 10-0 with 5 abstentions, including China and Russia. Germany abstained, saying it's worried about what would happen with this no-fly zone. Does it open the door to other military operations? Even though, John, the resolution says there'll be, quote, no foreign occupation. Certainly a fallout from the huge controversy here in the Iraq war run-up. John.
And Richard, you mentioned no use of the vetoes. There were key abstentions. China and Russia, though, obviously, they were hesitant, if not reluctant, to do this, but they decided in the end not to get in the way.
Yes, Brazil and India also joining in. They didn't want to stand in the way. They usually come to the aid of the Arab community, the Arab bloc. It was the Arab League vote to ask and plead for a no-fly zone that really changed the tenor of things. The U.S. may have worked its maneuvering magic behind a low-key profile because it all came with a rush here, a lot of focus on no-fly, but now under the term all necessary measures, there could be airstrikes, there could be attacks from anywhere at any time, though Gaddafi may be adopting different tactics on the ground in advance of this.
Richard Roth with the breaking news at the United Nations. Thank you, Richard. And that UN vote came amid a noticeable shift in the Obama administration's tone about Libya. For weeks, the White House has been very cool to any major U.S. military involvement. And tonight, we are told the president still will insist on a major Arab role in any no-fly zone. But on Capitol Hill today, a top State Department official said allowing Gaddafi to remain in power is unacceptable.
The dangers of him returning to terrorism and violent extremism himself, the dangers of the turmoil that he could help create at a very critical moment elsewhere in the region.
If you take a close look at the map of Libya right now, it does beg this question. Is it too late? Let's take a look at control of the region. This is a little more than a week ago, late February. Red, that means controlled by Gaddafi. Green, controlled by the opposition. Again, this is going back in time a little bit, but as Gaddafi's forces have marched to the east, you watch the shift in the balance of power. The government taking control here. Some of these other areas, Abu Jabia especially, in a battle tonight, you see the opposition controls less and less ground as things play out, including these key installations here, oil and gas towns right here. So how will this UN vote impact not only the military struggle, but Gaddafi's effort to hold power? Let's go live to Tripoli and CNN senior international correspondent Nick Robertson. Nick?
John, I think we got an idea of just how concerned the Gaddafi regime was about this vote. Just as the vote was taking place, I got a call from one of Muammar Gaddafi's sons, Sadi al-Gaddafi. He said that the government was going to change its tactics around Benghazi, that the army wouldn't go into the city, that they'll put up positions around Benghazi to help people get out of the city. He said that the government would send in police and counter-terrorism forces rather than the full force of the army to deal with the terrorists, as he called them. It's not clear if they're going to be able to execute that now with this vote by the UN Security Council, but this shows you how much they have been thinking that they're going to get away with the no-fly zone not being imposed, and how concerned they were as they saw it coming down, bearing down upon them. One thing we can say that Gaddafi is very likely to do, any international intervention here, he is likely going to use to try and build support around him. Has been always, over the past 3 weeks, saying that this opposition is trying to bring in international intervention, bring in the old colonialists, divide the country. So any step by the international community to act in Libya will be an excuse for Gaddafi to ramp up that rationale, that rhetoric, and try and build unity and build support, because there will be many people here who won't want to see international intervention. They've been concerned about the possibility of an escalation here. So this is how we're likely to see it play out. But of course, it's going to very much dent the military ambitions of this government at the moment. We're going to have to see how much they try and push the envelope, but they've heard. Now it can be hours before a strike could go ahead, John.
Nick Robertson for us in Tripoli. We'll keep in touch with Nick as this dramatic development unfolds. Let me show you over here. I want to give you a sense. We have heard Secretary Gates and others in the administration voicing concerns about what a no-fly zone. That's this little red bubble here, essentially establishing a no-fly zone over Libya. How would that happen? Well, here's one thing to look at. These are major Libyan military installations where Muammar Gaddafi can and has been flying some of his jets. Now, one of the things you can do, we've shown you this before, is just take out the runways. By airstrikes on the runways can cause those potholes, but they also can be quickly filled in and planes can keep going. So what Secretary Gates has been very concerned about, we are told, is this right here, an extensive surface-to-air missile system, most of it right here along the oil and energy-rich part of the coast here, significant anti-aircraft weapons, surface-to-air missiles that the Secretary of Defense has said must be taken out as part of any no-fly zone so that U.S. and any other pilots participating would not be put at risk. So we have to watch all this play out, and we have to watch the organization of a no-fly zone. But if you take this away and you close these down and you come back a bit, one of the concerns you also get here is how much has the balance of power shifted here. If you bring this over, this is where we are right now. The question is, can the opposition hold out? Can it regroup? There are reports tonight that there are arms coming in from Egypt to arm the opposition with the blessing of the United States government. That's a Wall Street Journal report we have yet to be able to confirm. But can they regroup here as all this plays out is a dramatic question tonight and something we need to watch in the days and hours ahead. We also are told there is a possibility that before any no-fly zone can be organized, that the United States, NATO allies, or others could use cruise missiles, other airstrikes, to essentially signal to Gaddafi that they are not afraid to use the new powers granted to them by the United Nations. We will stay on top of this story, but now to the latest